Welcome to Fireside Knicks. My name is Alex, and today I want to discuss Brian Windhorst's report of ESPN on the Knicks looking to trade away some of their veterans, ranging from Evan Fournier to Kemba Walker. Even Alec Burks was discussed. Now, I don't really understand what the Knicks expect to get from these guys. They have no value, right? You look at Evan Fournier; he just signed a 4-year, $73 million contract. Of course, the third year, or rather, the fourth year is voided, but still, he's averaging over $18 million per season over the next 3 years, guaranteed. What exactly is the value there for another team? If they look at that contract, are they going to say, oh, that's a great player. He plays great defense. It's not the case. Evan Fournier is a terrible defender, extremely inconsistent. And ultimately, I kind of feel like if they're trying to sell these veterans that are making big money as assets, they're going to be sorely disappointed on what the return is going to be. Kemba Walker reports a couple of weeks ago indicated that nobody really wanted him in the first place in a prospective trade. So, that's kind of the big question is, are the Knicks willing to give away some of their young players? Now, looking at Evan Fournier, he's averaging about 13.7, 14 points per game. Defense, abysmal. We know this. He's a good player. He's a good player in general. As a scorer, 3-point shooters, I think he's averaging about 38% this year. But ultimately, I kind of feel like the Knicks are going to be shooting themselves in the foot. It's tough to figure out, how do the Knicks increase their talent? How do they get back into a playoff caliber situation? Right now, they're 3 games below 500 going up against the Milwaukee Bucks on Friday night, probably going to get creamed. And now we're staring at a bigger problem in the face. The Knicks can't make the playoffs unless they get a star at the trade deadline, unless they're willing to just throw this season away and admit their mistakes this offseason. And I think that's another big issue. How exactly do we look at the front office now that they struck out on Kemba Walker, they struck out on Evan Fournier, they struck out on extending Julius Randle on a 4-year, $117 million deal? Now they're like, everyone's open for business. We're willing to trade them. That's a concern to me. The front office, they showed a lot of good moves last year. The drafting has been really good. I really like I love Obi Toppin. I love Quentin Grimes, Miles McBride, Emmanuel Quickly. I love those guys, right? I think they have bright futures in this league. RJ Barrett, the development that he's witnessed has been tremendous this year, or at least the start of 2022 has been a different, entirely different season for him. And I think that if he can maintain that, we're looking at a really great player who can be a key factor for us moving forward. Now, the problem is RJ Barrett now is the number one scorer, but he's still not an elite player, right? He's just hovering at star, like hovering right below star. He's just a little too inconsistent to be considered a star at this point. But I still think he has the potential to be a great player. His 3-point shooting has been a lot better. He's been driving with aggression. He's been finishing with his right hand, which was a big con for him in the start of the season. He couldn't finish with his right hand, but I love his aggression. His confidence has been bleeding lately. Julius Randle has been a shell of his former self. If you're a sports bettor, I smash the under on points for him like every game now, and I nail it every time. He's been just really, really disappointing. The Knicks obviously got blown out against the Miami Heat the other night, and Thibodeau was like, screw this, I'm sitting all my starters. All the starters sat. RJ Barrett missed the over on 19.5 points by 2 or 3 points, and I really needed him to hit that. I was in a parlay, I almost knocked it out of the park, won a couple $100, but RJ Barrett, the Knicks sucked too much. They couldn't even play the stars. They were like, let's just get the guys, the rookies and the young guys, some time on the floor. Of course, they went out and acquired Cam Reddish. Now, Cam Reddish is not the game changer here. He's not a good enough player to make this team elite. He's not a good enough player to help them make the postseason. He's averaging 12 points per game. Tom Thibodeau doesn't really know how to use him yet. Tom Thibodeau doesn't really use small forwards in his lineups to begin with. So bring this player in, it didn't really make sense from the beginning. It was like more or less a young guy they can help develop. Maybe they flip him for another player. The Knicks have so much youth. Apparently they've been recording they've been getting a lot of calls on Emmanuel Quickly, which is interesting because Emmanuel Quickly is probably one of their most valuable players at this point in time. Super cheap, developing really nicely on a good team. He would be really great with some confidence and a better system around him. The Knicks are just relying on their secondary players to really pick up the slack because the starters are just really blowing chunks lately. But the trade deadline is interesting, right? We've heard names like Jalen Brunson. We've heard names like Miles Turner. Even De'Aaron Fox has bubbled to the surface. I think that the Knicks need a legitimate point guard. If they're going to go out and make a trade at the deadline, it's got to be for a point guard. It's got to be for a guy like Jalen Brunson, although he wants a 4-year, $80 million extension. The Knicks don't really have the money and don't really have the flexibility unless they're going to part ways with Evan Fournier or Kemba Walker and open up some cash to offer him that type of money and extension. it's really disappointing to see the Knicks have fallen so far from the tree after a great 2020-21 season, and a lot of it's because of Julius Randle's regression. He's shooting like 30% from 3-point range this season. It's just awful. He's scoring 5 fewer points per game. It's become a serious problem. But if you're a Knicks fan, and I am, how do we perceive the front office now? Do we look at them and say, guys, like you didn't really do a good job this offseason? Or we say, do we still have faith in you to turn this thing around? Is it the coaching? Is it the players? I think it's a little bit of everything. I think Tom Thibodeau has done not a great job putting the right player combinations together and providing confidence with these guys. They just don't know how to adjust. Evan Fournier mentioned that what Miami did with Bam Adebayo and how they rotated him and how they kind of used him to open up opportunities. The Knicks didn't realize that they were doing it. They didn't know how to take advantage of the position change. They didn't know how to fight back. And I think that's a big coaching issue. The coaching needs to be able to adapt and find the right player combinations to attack individual players. And they just didn't do that. Bam Adebayo really featured in this more of a complimentary role. He didn't score many points against the Knicks this week. And I think that, the Knicks need to see weaknesses. They need to see what other teams are doing and adjust accordingly. And that they just haven't been able to do that, which to me is more of a coaching thing than a player thing. I think we have good players. We just don't know how to use them. And also at the same time, Tom Thibodeau loves his defense. Why would you go out and get Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker if you are a defensive minded team? You're replacing Reggie Bullock and Elfrid Payton. And I think those two guys, especially Payton, needed to go, but you needed to replace them with at least average defenders. Evan Fournier is a terrible defender. Kemba Walker, everybody knows he does not play defense. He gets a charge every now and then, but that's not enough to catapult your team into a good spot. His scoring is just not where it used to be. So it's disappointing to see the Knicks have kind of put themselves in this position. They should have went out and got a star like a Damian Lillard, like whoever it might have been. They would have been in a lot better shape. But again, that could also have panned out poorly as well. So that's disappointing. But guys, just want to take a quick break and a big shout out to DraftKings Sportsbook. 4 teams remain in the NFL playoffs, and that means only 4 teams left for you to bet on at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Counting down to Super Bowl 56, new customers can get 56-1 odds on any team. Bet just $5 and get $280 in free bets if your team wins. If you're not a new customer, you can experience the conference championships with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you can win. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now using promo code FIRESIDE and get 56-1 odds on any NFL team. Bet just $5 to win $280 in free bets if your team wins. That's promo code FIRESIDE for 56-1 odds at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for full details. Must be 21 plus and physically present in New York or New Jersey. If you have a gambling problem, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. But guys, I'm smashing the parlays for the Knicks today. Knicks Bucks. I think Bucks is a -9 spread. I hit the spread with the parlay. I hit Julius Randle on the under. I hit RJ Barrett on the over. Giannis over 26.5 points. Giannis over 8 rebounds. And Mitchell Robinson 7.5 points over, and I think over 7.5 rebounds. So I went out with a big parlay there. Now the in game, I think it was like $10 to win 1,300, but they were all pretty reasonable bets to me. So I've been doing pretty well in the parlays. If I keep hitting them, I'll let you guys know what I'm doing. But take advantage of this DraftKings Sportsbook promotion. You bet $5, you get a 280 free bets. It's easy win there. So make sure to go sign up. You can find the link in the description to take advantage of that promo code. Much love as always. But back to the Knicks. A lot of different rumors are going to be coming out in the coming days. We have about 2 weeks until the trade deadline is concluded, but the Knicks need help, right? It depends. Does the front office want to throw in the white towel? Do they want to wave the white flag on the season, or do they really want to make a push at the postseason? Julius Randle regressing is a big con. The media, analysts, everyone's roasting the guy right now. It's sad to see because I think his confidence is shot. He doesn't really care. Maybe he does care. I'm not going to assume, but it does seem like he's taken a step back and he's definitely lost his edge this season. So now the Knicks are kind of staring this problem in the face. How do we get Julius Randle back on track, or do we have to trade the guy? We just signed him to a massive $117 million extension. Who's going to want him right now? That's a bigger question. Who wants Julius Randle on that type of contract? A team that has aspirations to make the championship, or the finals rather, may see Julius Randle and say, you know what, he's a perfect combinations to John Morant. I'm just throwing names out there, but he's a perfect combination to another young player who's on a cheap contract. We can afford to consume that deal. But what are we willing to give up? The Knicks are like, we want to get rid of some of our veterans, but we just signed them to massive contracts. What is the value there? So that's a big problem. The Knicks might have to give draft picks away just to get some of these contracts off the books so they can fit another player. And realistically, if the Knicks really want to get a deal done, it's probably going to have to be with two other teams. It's probably going to have to be, we're going to give you youth players, but in exchange, you also have to take one of these contracts off our books so we can fit a big name. Of course, a name that's been kind of floating in the media lately is Donovan Mitchell from Utah. People are saying that if they don't make it far in the postseason, if they're a one and done in the playoffs, he might want to come back to New York where he grew up. So that's a big name that could be on the market for the Knicks. But at the end of the day, they have to recognize they need a star player to pair with Julius Randle, or they need to get rid of Julius Randle and find another star who can legitimately offer consistency on an every night basis. Julius Randle can't do it alone. RJ Barrett's great. He's been playing awesome. I think him and Emmanuel Quickley are the two guys, and I would throw Quentin Grimes in there too. Those are the three guys who I would consider off limits. I would not get rid of them. RJ Barrett has so much more potential. They're giving him that role, that flexibility and freedom to be his own scorer, to be his own player instead of be a compliment. And I think he's going to take over that number one scoring role pretty quickly. And Julius Randle already looks like he's kind of falling into the wayward. So, guys, I'd love to hear your opinion. Let me know what you think, what the Knicks are going to do with the trade deadline, what you think these guys actually are, the value is for them. Evan Fournier, Kemba Walker, they have no value. Who the hell wants them is my question. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, what you think about those guys, if they can get anything in return, or what the Knicks are going to do in the trade deadline. So really curious to hear your opinion on that one. Make sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel as always, my friends, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Knicks episode.